Hi there, welcome to C programming tutorial. Um, this tutorial is actually a continuation of the previous tutorial in the sense that in the previous tutorial we learned about the conditions, how to write the conditions, and in this tutorial we are going to learn how to use them in a C program. Again, if you haven't watched the previous tutorial, I would highly suggest that you do that. You can also click on the link in the description, which basically will take you to the playlist of all the tutorials in this series, and you could watch each one of those over there. Okay, so let's get started. So far what we have learned is to basically, write programs which are quite linear in nature. Linear in the sense that, you take the value of x from the user, then value of y from the user, and then you add them together, and then you just display the result, and it basically they go in the same linear fashion. One instruction after the other and one instruction after the other, and if you run that program 100 times, this is exactly what it's going to do. So, but with the usage of conditions, you can basically write the program that can decide what to do next based on the values of certain variables. For example, let's write a very small program. In this program, what we will say is basically we will ask the user to input a value, a number, and then we will say if that number is basically greater than 0, or it's 0 or less than 0. So basically, based on that, we could basically we are going to print a message on the screen saying that okay, this is what it is. Its value is greater than 0 or less than 0 or equal to 0. See, so the program will have some dynamic behavior. In other words, it will decide at runtime, while running, it will decide what to do next. Okay, so what are we gonna do? First thing, since we want is for the user, first thing we want to do is we want the user to be able to enter the value of a number. So in order to make it happen, we have to basically declare a variable of integer type, because we want to add input a number, and we could call it x. But it's a good idea, as I said, it's a good idea to basically write the name of the variables which are actually what they represent. So let's call it number. So int number. Okay, that declares a variable called number. What do we do next? We basically ask the user to input the value for number. So what do we do? We use scanf, as we learned before in the tutorial that's titled inputting. And if you haven't watched that tutorial, by the way, you should watch it. We learned that we have to use scanf to do that. And how do we do that? We basically specify that okay, we are expecting a number from the user here, and then what we do is basically we write the name of the variable. But there is one thing that we have to do in scanf, is basically always put an ampersand before the name of the variable, of the name of the int variable. This gives it the location where the value of that number, whatever the value that user enters, is supposed to go in the memory. Now the thing is that as some of on previous programs, what was happening as a result, that the cursor would be sitting there waiting for the user to enter a value with the blank screen. So it's a good idea to tell the user what it is supposed to do. So we will say enter a number. So just display a small message before scanf, and then do a scanf, so that way basically user knows what it has to do. So now at this point here where the cursor is right now, it basically means that we have the value of number set to whatever the number user has entered. So now what we are going to do is to basically look at the number and compare it if it is greater than 0 or not. In other words, if it is positive or not. So how do we do that? We use a condition. So how do we write the condition? Number is greater than 0. So this basically gives us the condition that we wanted. Now what do we do with this condition? We can't do anything with it. So so let's see how you use that condition. So there is a statement called if. So after if, you can basically write any condition you want. And we learned how to write conditions in the previous lecture, and if you haven't seen that, you should see that too. Anyway, if number is greater than 0, so you write if followed by the condition under parentheses. So this basically is how you write the if statement, and this allows the computer to decide what to do next. So what do we do after that? We write printf your number. We write a little message, number is positive. Okay, and we learn how to basically display some message on the screen. Okay, so this basically allows us to so what it's going to do is basically if this condition is true, if this condition evaluates to be true, in other words, the user entered any number which is greater than 0, what it's going to do is basically it's going to print this statement. So in general, if whatever the condition is after the if statement, if that results in true, what happens is that that the statement which is followed by this followed right after the if statement here, that statement gets executed. If this condition becomes false, if it gets evaluated as false, the statement after this if statement is basically results in it is skipped actually, so it doesn't get executed. So in general, the syntax of if is that if followed by some condition, and then you write a statement, any statement. You could write, a statement could be, x is equal to 2. The statement could be y is equal to x multiplied by 2, or the statement could be scanf, or the statement could be printf. Any of these, they are all statements. So if you write whatever statement that you wrote right after this if condition, it will be executed or it will not be executed based on the condition. So if the condition results in true, this statement will be executed. If the condition results in false, this statement will not be executed. It will be skipped. So here, if the user entered any positive number, so this condition would be true, this statement will be executed, which will basically print a message on the screen saying that your number is positive. If the user entered 0, this condition, 0 is greater than 0, it's false, because 0 is not greater than 0, 0 is equal to 0. This condition will be false, and because this condition will be false, this message, your number is positive, is not going to be displayed, which is good, right? Because we don't want, because 0 is not a positive number, 0 is just 0. So 0 is not a positive number, so we don't want to print this message if the user enters 0. Similarly, if the user enters a negative number like -10 or something, it will evaluate this condition, -10 is greater than 0, and it will be false because -10 is actually less than 0. So this will be false, and this statement will be skipped, which is good because we don't want to say that your number is positive when the user enters -11. So you see this is how the if statement works, and it allows the computer to make decisions based on the condition, and based on those decisions it will either execute the statement which is right after the if statement, or it will not execute the condition, the statement that is right after the if statement. Now we are running out of time for this particular tutorial. We will continue this tutorial in the next lecture. Please subscribe to this channel so that you can be notified of any new videos, and also please rate this video 5-star if you liked it.